Welcome back to my channel. My name is Liz, and today we're going to react to 1-star reviews. So I know that this isn't the most original content idea. A lot of booktubers and even authortubers look at the 1-star reviews of some very well-known books. But I decided that I wanted to do it too, and I'm actually going to put a bit more of a writer spin on it because I find that my self-doubt is growing while back in the drafting stage of my new book. My self-doubt is growing and my imposter syndrome is growing, and I feel like I just am never going to amount to what these writers are or who these writers are or what they've accomplished or match their writing style or their story building or any of the above. So what I'm going to do is choose books that I love. Most of them are more recent reads of mine, and they are not going to be as well known. Actually, no, they probably will be well known, but they're not going to be like... Why can't I think of any well-known books? They're not going to be like Harry Potter, Game of Thrones. It's not going to be those books because those have been done before. I've heard the 1-star reviews through other booktubers. And so I'm going to do the books that I recently read and fell in love with and had me doubting everything about who I am as a writer. Here's why. I know that if I ever publish a book, not everybody's going to love my book. Like, I know that. I'm aware of that. I can logically recognize that. I can't control my emotional reaction to that. I know that I'm going to get 1-star reviews. I know that people are going to hate my book. I know that people are going to have bad things to say about my writing. I can logically recognize that. I can understand that, and I can know that that's going to happen, and I can mentally prepare for that happening, but it doesn't stop my emotional response to that. And I have no way of preparing my emotional response to that because I haven't had bad reviews. I haven't had good reviews. I haven't had any reviews of my books. So maybe exposing myself to some negative reviews of some of the books that I love, some of the books that I think I will never amount to, will help me to recognize that it's such a subjective matter. Everybody has their tastes and their preferences, and writing's hard. I don't know that I want to give negative reviews to books that I don't like, because who am I to say that the book is bad? I've learned over the last several years that writing's fucking hard. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to put a book out into the world. It's not physically easy. It's not emotionally easy. I don't know where this rant went. We're way off topic, but that's where we're at. So anyway, I'm hoping that reading some of these 1-star reviews will help me to wrap my head around the idea that this is all subjective, and just because somebody doesn't like my book doesn't mean that I'm a bad writer. Just like these 1-star reviews that I'm going to read doesn't mean that book is bad, because I loved that book. So the first review I'm going to read is The Silent Patient by Michaelides. This was the first thriller that I gave a 5-star review to. Alright, so here we go. Was not for me. I don't get the hype on this one at all. I'm glad so many loved it because it eases my conscience a little about having to give such a poor review. But I just don't understand how there can be so many comments on social media about this being the best book people have read all year. I mean, people are going absolutely crazy over it. As usual with this publisher, the marketing and promotions were outstanding. I totally bought into the initial excitement. The advance copy came belly-banded with fictional newspaper articles about the crime, which I thought was really fun. Ooh, that's exciting. Like, I wish I would have gotten that. As far as the story goes, I'd expect something fast-paced, engaging, and suspenseful, but feel like I got a slow-moving, go-nowhere book that wasn't even redeemed by the supposedly big twist at the end. The style is very generic, even for its genre, with pages of dialogue that did nothing to further the story or give depth to any of the characters. The whole book just seemed like filler. I'm in the minority here, so I chalk this one up to personal preference, I guess. I do like that this reviewer actually references this probably being a preference thing over, you know, the book being bad. This wasn't an awful review. This was just a review saying, I don't think this book was for me. This person says, abysmal writing. What makes Gone Girl and Sharp Objects more than just cheesy page turners is the quality of writing. What makes The Silent Patient such a tacky slog is the consistently lazy, cliche-ridden, dumbed-down prose. Who cares about a mystery when you have to trudge through page after page of sophomoric prose? I thought the prose was really good. This one says, I ended up hating this book. And then it says, spoilers, proceed at your own risk. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. Hopefully that's enough. I ended up hating this book. It was a complete cheat. A good twist is when you don't see coming. If you go back and reread the book, the clues were there. You just didn't put it together. At the very least, nothing in this book is an outright lie or intentionally misleading. What a good twist is not is a first-person point of view narrator presenting events as if they're happening at the current time when they actually happened 6 years earlier. The author intentionally misled the reader when it came to the chronology so that they couldn't figure out the twist. That's just cheating and misdirecting in the cheapest, worst, most underhanded and manipulative way possible. That to me is not a good book. Plus, the writing, it was meh. When I read a book, I highlight sentences and passages that I love. There are very few highlights in this book. I do see how they feel like they were cheated, but I feel like this person feels like they were cheated because they didn't actually see the twist coming, and they were disappointed by that. Maybe this is a person that likes to guess the twists more. This person says, "What? How in the world is this book getting such good reviews? It's laughably ludicrous. It's trying so hard to be riveting and suspenseful that it just throws everything in and hopes something sticks. None of the twists make any sense, and not one of the characters was one with whom you could empathize. Skip this book." I will agree with that. There's no real likable character in this book, but I'm not mad about it because there's not supposed to be. Like, we all have our flaws. This book is just filled with really flawed people. So the next book I was gonna do was gonna be Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, but I feel like that one's like super well known. I'm gonna do Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn instead, and honestly, I liked Sharp Objects more than Gone Girl. It's darker, and I like dark. So let's start reading some one-star reviews here. Horrible character development and sentence structure. I was looking forward to reading this book as it came highly recommended by several people. I was disappointed from the beginning to the end. The characters are not just unlikable, they are so off the wall, disgusting, and bizarre that they became two-dimensional for me. Even the murder victims are impossible to pity as they are terrible people as well. The sentence structure was also so atrocious it distracted from the plot itself. I'm not sure there are more than 5 complete sentences in the entire book. I read Gone Girl and I don't remember the sentence structure being such an issue in that book, which leads me to believe that Gillian Flynn chose to write Sharp Objects in mostly fragments, maybe to symbolize the fragmentation that is Camille's life, or all these characters' lives. At any rate, it didn't work at all. I would not recommend this book to anyone. Maybe the HBO show is better. I definitely agree that she made some very unlikable characters. You don't want your characters to be liked, because to get the book to have as much darkness and macabre that you're looking for, you want some dark-ass characters. You want them to be really flawed. Don't read this book if you don't want some really, really dark themes. This one says, not convincing. I'm not the type of person who thinks that protagonists have to be likable. If anything, there are far too many heroes in literature. However, I feel like the author worked really hard to make her characters edgy and gritty. There was no internal consistency to the dismaying details of the main character, Camille. For example, she would randomly observe that some child she came across in her old town was ugly or stupid or bound to have a depressing future. There was no justifiable reason for these observations, other than perhaps that the main character was a condescending snob. Despite the fact that we were supposed to find her sympathetic, I did like the plot, just not overly done dark characters. I think the book is overrated. So I feel like this person might have misunderstood where this character comes from, because I saw Camille as her past history with these girls in her grade and the boys in her grade. They kind of taught her to be this person, and the whole town is full of very judgmental, nasty people, and she actually came out of there better than you could expect anybody to come out of that town. Am I saying that what she said or did in this book was right? No, she did a lot of awful things, but also had a lot of awful things done to her. So this person says, evil people. There wasn't one character in this book to sympathize with. No humanity. Everyone is awful. I don't get Gillian Flynn and won't read her again. The so-called protagonist of this book is a woman who has cut herself enough that she can't reveal her body, but still has meaningless sex, drinks like a maniac, and apparently is too stupid to know what's going on around her. GG, Gone Girl, was a bit more refined, but more of the same. Flynn needs a lot of therapy. I've seen interviews with her, and honestly, I think this is all just a creation of her imagination. Like, I'm about to write really dark characters too. I wouldn't say that I need therapy. That's a lie. I actually go to therapy. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. But the characters in my book are very, very dark, but that's what the plot needs for my book. So am I like those characters? No. Do I think that they're good people? No, but they're characters in my book for a reason, because a plot wouldn't develop the same if all the characters were these perfectly good behaving human beings. Like, you wouldn't have a plot from that. You wouldn't have a good story. Okay, so this sentence here. So-called protagonist of this book is a woman woman who has cut herself enough that she can't reveal her body but has meaningless sex, drinks like a maniac, and apparently is too stupid to know what's going on around her. I will say it was surprising to me that she was a 32-year-old woman before she found out like what her mom was doing. But outside of that, I wouldn't say she's unintelligent at all. And the cutting, the meaningless sex, and the drinking were all ways that she coped with who she was and how she was raised. So am I saying it's right? No, but I understand. This person says, horrible. This book was very disappointing. Only a crazy person could write a book like this, and I'm crazy to have read the whole thing. I mean, that's fair. I think all authors have a little crazy, you know. The last book I'm going to do is The Haunting of Hill House. This book, I don't know when it was written, a while ago. This person says, blabbering nonsense followed by worse ending. I read this after watching the movie and series because I read that it is supposedly one of the best scary novels out there. Wrong. It is filled by repeating sentence journeys end in lovers meeting. Nothing ever made any sense at all. Not even remotely scary. The ending was atrocious. I mean, if you follow up the TV series with the book, I can see how you would think that because the TV series was very loosely based on this book. It really wasn't the same premise at all. This person says, disappointing. I read so many things about this author being great and the book being horrifying. I waited and waited for something scary to happen in the story. It never did for me. I feel like I want to ask for my money back on the book. Total disappointment. I feel like this book was one that's not supposed to be like scare your pants off scary. This was more of a kind of creepy, gives you the shivers when you're reading it kind of scary. It's not, holy crap, that just happened. It's just kind of, is this happening around them or is this not happening around them? And that kind of gives you an eerie feeling. So if you go into it with the expectation that it's going to scare your pants off, probably not the book for you. This person says, literally the worst book I've ever read. That's impressive. I was interested in reading this novel because the movie was so frightening and the Netflix series was really good. But this book is disappointing and so far has been the worst book I have ever read. The only similarity between the book and the movie or series would be the characters' names. Otherwise, there is nothing interesting in it. The novel has zero chills, minimal plot, and is often just silly. It reminds me of an old Gothic novel written by some neglected and bored spinster looking for something to do. The writing is very pretentious and underwhelming. The only horror about this book is the number of trees that died to make paper it was printed on. I kept reading and expecting at any moment to finally get to some thrilling scene, which never came. My advice is don't waste your time on this book. Again, so many people are following the Netflix series with the book. I feel like reading the book and then watching the Netflix series, I appreciate the Netflix series because they kind of took it and did their own thing with it, which was really cool. But if you read the book expecting it to be like this, it's not. It's not even kind of. And it's an older book, so it's not like going to be like the new dark, chilling books that you can get nowadays. It was creepy for its time. This person says, would like my money back. This book was all over the place and was simply confusing just trying to keep up with it. Most of the time I did not even know who was talking to who or if it was just a thought. Not a single scary moment. I'm assuming it was all about a crazy character, but I could honestly not tell you. Not worth the hype, and now I feel cheated of my money. I understand where this person's coming from as far as like it being all over the place. It kind of was. It was a hard one to follow. I'm not gonna lie, it was a hard one to follow, but listening to the audiobook might have helped me kind of tag along, especially with a good narrator who's animated. So I didn't have that much trouble, but I could absolutely see where somebody could have that trouble if they're just reading the book. Really boring. Don't waste your time. I wasted my time reading this book. No action, nothing remotely scary. I'm not sure how anyone could give it anything over 1 star. What a turd. That's entertaining. So on that note, I actually want to turn this around and read some 5-star reviews of 1 or 2 books that I read that I didn't like. Because again, this is all subjective matter, and just because I don't like it doesn't make it a not good book. Doesn't make it not a good book. The 5-star reviews I'm reading are going to be for I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This is a book, I saw the twist coming. The narration was kind of bizarre to read. The scenario that was happening around the characters was really bizarre, and it wasn't my book. It wasn't for me. But just because it wasn't for me doesn't mean it wasn't for someone else. Okay, so this person says, Loneliness and Missed Opportunities. I don't usually read thrillers or suspense novels, but this book sounded different, so I thought I would give it a try. I loved the dialogue, and even the inner monologues that were going on in the character's head were excellent. The writer definitely is a talented stylist. I liked the smart, short sentences that snapped from line to line. The suspense built slowly. This was a really great character study, and I loved the way little clues and hints were spread randomly throughout. I thought I had it figured out and at one point, and it ended up being way off. The main theme here was really about the loneliness and the missed opportunities. Great book, and I look forward to reading more from this author. I guess I can see where this person's coming from. I mean, I didn't really care for the narration here, and the inner monologue. Like, it was just really bizarre and confusing to me. But I could appreciate it, especially the way that the sentence structures were kind of scattered throughout. I did like that. This person says, mind-bending, heartbreaking, and true. The knowing. From beginning, it suffuses the reader with a scent of familiar but unrecognized. The chewed fingernails, lack of effect, flashes forward and back. By the time we get to the farm, we consciously suspect. Then we meet the Dairy Queen girl, and we're certain, but we don't know how. It's the how that pulls us, inch by inch to the ending. We learn what we don't want to believe, realization rising till the emotions overwhelm us. A story told from the inside out. We all live through a lens of our skewed perceptions. The author let us breathe inside the skin of his main character. A masterful treatise on human frailty. Memorable characters, a compelling story, worth reading again. Okay, first of all, this person who rated it this, I mean, I would read a book by this person, so. See, and I didn't follow the story as well as this person did. Like, I got really confused with the Dairy Queen girl. I got, like, it didn't all tie together at the end. It wasn't very cohesive for me. This person says, a short, wild, twisted ride. This story was very weird and very well written. I think it will make all readers feel uneasy, and that is what it is designed to do. The terror builds slowly. It is a mystery, and the reader should pay attention to everything. The ending fits. I will agree that it was very weird. This person says, are you good or are you bad? I started reading this book and then had to stop and go take care of some things. I had to stop at a very particularly tense point. I kept thinking about it in the car. Where was this book going? What would I have done? Having grown up in the country, I could see everything so clearly. The darkness, driving over the empty roads, the farm, the anecdotal memories the girlfriend was remembering were very clearly fleshed out. I kept thinking about them. I grew up on these kinds of stories, strange memories, whatever. I'm still thinking about the details, which to me is a sign of a good read. I will give the author this. The drive in the, like, Ian Reid must have really known what it's like to be in the middle of a blizzard, because I felt that shit. His descriptions were really good. I will give him that. Alright friends, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it insightful, interesting, intriguing in some way. Maybe found a couple more books to pick up and read. I don't know. I don't know how to wrap up videos, so I'll see you in the next one.